Alright, game 7 means we get the veto of the higher seeded player, which is me in this case, and my veto is, as per usual, the base set. So looking at this, you could, scream because it really is a militia chapel opening, and it comes down to who could fork each other's chapel hand first. However, my opponent has 5-2. Again, so I think it's the third time in 7 matches he has 5-2. Goes for lab and chapel. There is some thought to market on chapel there, but the lab is fine, I guess. I think it's fine. Anyways, this chapel comes, and that's I think the most likely chapel hand to get if you open with chapel. So I'm happy he didn't miss, or he had to cut 4 coppers. I'm happy I didn't have to cut 4 coppers. 5 for me is going to be a festival here, and then I'll start building up the labs. The festival is economy, first of all, and actions, second of all. So 3 here, not a great hand for me. I am going to buy a silver. I thought about Chancellor because Throne Room is present. By the way, I didn't look at the board. It's like massive engine, right? Throne Room, Lab. You play a militia, you get lots of buys from Festival, and so on and so forth. So you could go Labs for your draw, or you could go like Throne, Smithy for your draw. Which actually seems good now that I think about it. I don't know why we didn't do this. Anyways, so what's been happening? I play militia on my opponent here, and I am gonna trim a copper off. I do have a lab at this point, and 6 is no. This is my first lab, I believe, and yeah, I'm gonna pass on this and don't want another silver in my deck. It's not a thrownable item, and it'll just get in the way of things. And actually, these shuffles have not been very pleasant to me, and my opponent manages to get another big trash off here, and I think he's ahead at this point. So 5, I am going to pick up a lab here, looking for draw just to try to stabilize, just to try to get things up and running, because they haven't been coming well, and my opponent meantime is drawing through the entire deck. So here I think I make a bit of a misplay. I should have dropped lab and chapel and played militia and picked up a throne room. Instead I put the coppers down and draw with the lab, trying to find the festival so that I can play both my terminals, but I don't find the festival. Yeah, the game is starting to slip away from me a little bit here now. 5 for me, more labs. I need more draw, obviously, if I can't connect these things well. In the meantime, my opponent has Throne Room. Doesn't have the festival, which is the plus buys and the action. So he doesn't need the action particularly, it's just the plus buy. And his economy is a little bit less than mine. On 4 he goes for a feast, and honestly I was confused by the feast. I thought that was a clear, easy second throne room. I didn't know what he was going to do with the feast, right? But as it turns out, you can play throne room on feast and get 2 5-cost cards. That's pretty good, right? That's real good. I missed it entirely. So on 6 here, instead of going for another lab, I decided to go for my first throne room. I think it's about time to add that into my deck. Adding these labs and not helping me draw, so maybe the throne room can help me draw even more. And really you need the throne rooms in this game, right? The throne room is going to be key. Throne room split, that is. So here he explodes the feast twice, and it shows me why he bought the feast in the first place, going for a lab and a festival. So he's overdrawing his deck at this point, so the festival is definitely reasonable. Definitely reasonable. It's a bit more economy than the market, and you put a throne room on a festival, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. You also get plus actions from it and buys. But yeah, so that's really the difference between festival and market here. If you can overdraw, stick festivals into your deck. If you can't, then maybe market is a little bit better for you. Hold back on these coppers here just so I can get to 8 and buy throne and feast for myself. Now that I see what can be done with the throne room and the feast, I am going to go ahead and make that play. So here, my opponent actually, I believe, goes for a gold, which I don't particularly like. I think the festival is better, obviously. Even market is better, I believe. Our second militia isn't crazy, but he goes for the gold. I understand it, you want to add payload, but there's throne room on board, right? If you could throw in your festival, has more money than gold. And yeah, there's lots of draw on the board, so I don't really see a reason to not pick up the festival. But he goes for the gold instead, probably wanting like a quick boost in economy. And I get to explode my excuse me, my feast twice, picking up markets at this point. So I still can't quite draw everything even after throwing a lab. So that's why I pick up the markets there, and I'm going to replace my feast on this turn so I can throw and feast again. So at this point, now I feel like I can overdraw my deck because you have to cater for this militia attack as well, right? You have to be able to draw um, your deck +2. So 9 for my opponent, and I don't think you go for province here, especially with the plus buy, and he goes for um, a feast on 4, trying to go again for the double gain. And there's a lot of choices on 5 for him, right? He eventually decides to get the market, which I agree with. Um, right, so here I'm just looking for my throne room to try to blow up this feast, and hopefully this time I can draw the things that I gain off the feast. So again, I gain a couple of markets here. Maybe one of these should have been a festival, but I wasn't 100% guaranteed to draw it. I'm not sure if I gained one festival. I'm not sure. But I am trying to not get only get the festivals when I'm very, very secure on my draw, because if you get too many of those, you draw a hand like Throne Festival, Throne Festival, Festival, and then you can't draw and your turn is limited. So we still are going for this feast thing, right? Throning feast seems to be the thing to do here. And yeah, amazingly, none of us have picked up smithies, which helps a lot with the draw, right? Festival, smithy seems more powerful than lab market, but also seems a little bit less reliable. So I mean, just have to balance things out, right, as best as you could. So another feast for my opponent. Here they played their feast, but only a single feast, I believe. Yeah, gaining a lab. So by this point, I have um, a lot more throne rooms than my opponent, and it is incrementally giving me an advantage, I believe. So here I can throw in the feast, but I want to find my festival, I believe, to throw in that as well. The throwing festival is a big deal. 4 coins, a couple extra buys, and I throw in the feast here. And I pick up a couple markets. I maybe could have drawn the festival here. Maybe I should have picked up more festivals instead of markets at this point. So like some slight inaccuracies. But here I'm drawing an exact amount, So I have to just be aware of the draw situation. I have 13 and a lot of buys. So I'm thinking here maybe something like Feast, Throne Room, and a 5 cost. Probably a lab. Because I see my draw is, right up to the edge here. And I would really like to use my throne rooms on festivals and markets. I mean, the less throne rooms that I have to use on labs is the more I can use on those guys. So discarding for the militia here is uncomfortable, but you could draw everything back. Mostly 8 for my opponent. Again, still only with the one excuse me, throne room, and he opts to go for province here instead of building. So now the labs are empty, the markets and feasts are low. So that province was probably in anticipation of some kind of pileout, which I may have had, knowing that I had Throne Feast in my deck, so I could have thrown the feast, picked up 2 markets, and I don't know, maybe he emptied, or maybe I could have chained feast, for example, like thrown feast, pick up market feast, and then draw thrown feast again, market feast, and maybe somehow end the game. I don't know if that was possible at all. But here I am thinking about whether to liquidate this feast. I could hold it in my deck as a gainer that I, at some point, any point in the future turns, I could gain, I don't know, a couple duchies, I could gain a couple markets and threaten the end of the game. I end up deciding to liquidate the feast here and pick up a market and a festival. I don't want to drop the markets too low and put myself in range of a pile out. Right, this is game 7, right? Everything is on the line here, so just being sufficiently cautious. So one market, I don't think without the feasts, I don't think he could empty the piles. And a festival, just for a bit of econ, I am overdrawing now by 1 card. And yeah, up to 17. And I take 1 province, and I could build maybe with throne room and festival or something here, but I'm gonna take the 2 provinces. He might be able to get 2 himself. I'm not sure. He could get 1. I'm not sure, but I'm gonna take the 2 provinces here. I think that puts me in a very good position in terms of managing the province pile. So I think we split the labs 5-5. He gets to throw in his festival here, which is good news. And he comes up with 13 on this turn here. So he goes for the province, and instead of the duchy, picks up a festival and a copper with it. So what he does is he makes himself able to get up to 16. So I have to play around that. I can't just go straight double province on my next turn, because I will presumably draw everything at this point. And I am keeping track of what cards I've thrown. I know I need to throw in 1 festival to get up to that double province thing. But I should be okay with the rest of economy in my deck to get to 16. So he picks up the festival and the copper, threatening. What is he threatening? Right, double province, right? So I have to be aware of that. I almost actually bought double province here, thinking, okay, well, he had 13 last turn and he bought the festival as only 15. Then I looked at the log and I saw he bought the copper. Like, oh, he could get 16, and a tie actually wins for him here. So I was carefully enough to avoid that, so I'm just going to buy the 1 province, and that really puts him under pressure in the next turn, because him taking the 3rd to last province would leave 2 in the pile, and I am capable of getting 2, so he has to play around that. So I'm definitely going to take at least 1, but I'm not going to take the other one. So is left, I would be left with what, $9 here and a decision on what to buy. So I do end up going for points. So I do pick up 1 duchy, but the estates don't really help, I don't think. The duchy is sufficient. And I pick up a throne room. Always good to pick up the throne rooms, right? So here my opponent comes out with all his labs, and I don't think he gets up to 16 actually. The draw is starting to affect him now. He wasn't able to throw in a festival either. So he only comes up with 10 here, and he goes for double duchy, staying in the game, right? He doesn't want to touch the province pile for fear of me piling out. So double duchy from my opponent, and actually he has 12, not 10. So he could go like double duchy estate or something. Or he could do something different, right? He could go province throne room and hope I stall. But I don't know, it's somewhat difficult for me to stall. I do have a bunch of green cards and a few stop cards in my deck, but a lot of it is labs and markets and throne rooms, right? So this is the question you have to ask yourself when you're building. Do you want to build with the labs and markets, with festivals and smithies? How reliable are you willing to be? He does pick up a duchy, smithy, and silver. I think that's a good play. He needs to get the draw up to again threaten double province. However, I do have a full turn here, and I am throwing in labs when I need to be able to draw everything. He says GG here. I thought he was going to resign, but he doesn't resign. Maybe he thinks he's too far behind at this point. So yeah, I do get to throw in a festival and a market here, which is excellent, and I get back up to 17, and now I'm very comfortable in taking the 2 provinces. He would need a pile of duchies, like 4 more duchies plus an estate, plus the remaining province. He doesn't have that kind of money. So I'm very comfortable in taking the 2 provinces here, and provided I have a half decent turn next turn, I will get up to my province for the win. So he plays a smithy. I was happy he wasn't able to throw in that smithy. That would have probably got him through the deck, I believe. But really, the lack of throne rooms is hurting him here. He is able to get 10 for double duchy, and I just need to get up to 8 Throning the festival doesn't do it, so I have to draw to look, and I have it in hand with the Throne Market. So I eventually stopped playing action cards here and just buy the province and take game 7. So very, very close in the end here. Very, very close in the end, but I do manage to progress to the next round. So I will see you then. Thank you for watching. Feedback is always, always welcome. See you.